Greetings, Poe fans. Welcome to another edition of Poe Unplugged. I am Carmen Bolden.
And I am Jeanie Smith. We are the
Potastic 2.
Come zoom with us into the Unbook Club dedicated to the works of Mr. Edgar Allan Poe.
All right. Well, welcome to Poe Unplugged, and we are going to dive right into the Telltale Heart. I think it's for me, just talking, especially at the Poe Festival, that seemed to be one of the favorites that everybody talks about, and mostly because they read it in middle school or junior high, which is really kind of cool. And so we kind of talked about, if you either reread it or just kind of remember, go back and brush up on it for tonight. And we wanted to kind of talk about the psychology of the narrator and things that are happening in the story. And so does anybody have any thoughts or questions before we kind of just start talking? Anybody?
Well, I think we do need to be a quick introduction because I know that Layla or Leela? Leela, yes. We couldn't remember. We're like, is it Layla or is it Leela? I know Leela was here last week, as was Holly.
Holly, yes. Yeah,
Holly. So we do have a couple new ones. I know Crystal is Holly's sister, right? Sorry, yes. Crystal, she ratted you out before you got here. But Eileen, I don't think we've had on here before. I don't remember, but welcome, Eileen. And then, of course, our special guests we have is Thad and Season, who are going to be giving us the wonderful world of their mind when it comes to putting Poe to screen. So we're thankful that they're joining us. Of course, I'm Jeanie, and this is Carmen, and we are Potastic 2.
Yes.
And we love that all you guys are joining us. So with that further ado, Carmen, take it away with Telltale Heart.
All right. Okay. So if no one has any thoughts or ideas, I reread it because even though I've read it multiple times, I always, before we do anything like this, I like to have it fresh in my brain. And so one of the things that I noticed rereading it this time is thinking about, just with the psychology part of it, when he talks, he or she, because that's a really cool thing that Poe Movies is going to bring in with the narrator. I think everyone always assumes it is a man, but it doesn't have to be. And the one thing that I kind of picked up on is if he is that mad or she is that mad, it seems like it's premeditated with the murder. And so I want to kind of lead off with that. So what are your thoughts?
About the psychology, right? So,
yes.
Yeah. So do you want to go over me? Yeah. So there's no like particular. So just to start it off. So my take on it, our take on this was that the mad condition was schizophrenia.
Okay.
Now, there was nothing called schizophrenia in the time of Poe. It certainly existed, but there wasn't a name for it. And there are other theories out there, other people, not everybody believes that. So just want to put that out there. It's not gospel truth, but my reading of the story, that's kind of what I understood. So when we made this, when we first sat down with the actors, we just kind of said, this is what we wanted. This is how we think of it, but we're not publicly. I mean, I guess this is technically public, but we're not going to make that part of the film, is that it's a condition called schizophrenia, that because there are symptoms within there that are schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did is, what you kind of typically do with actors, and you do this when you write, is you kind of invent a little bit of a backstory. And that backstory is usually referred to as subtext. So there might be a backstory that this character has that only the actors know about. And what it does is it kind of gives depth to the character. So part of that subtext was that this character had schizophrenia.
Okay.
Early onset schizophrenia, which occurs around the age of 27 for women.
Mhm.
And it begins with hearing voices, typically begins with auditory hallucinations, which is what the main character has.
Definitely.
Yeah. So in terms of the psychology, the abnormal psychology of it, that was kind of our take on it. However, it's not specific that it's anything like that it's even a condition. It's just mentioned that it's the character struggles, and I'm just going to refer to the character as she, so we don't have to do the he she thing. I'm just going to say that from
works.
now on, knowing that he is not wrong, right? It's not wrong to say that. It's also not wrong to say she for this.
Absolutely.
So all we know is that she is desperate to prove her sanity is more important than her guilt. She admits guilt in order to prove her sanity. And the odd thing about it is that in trying to prove her sanity, she not only admits her guilt, but proves that she's insane, because there's craziness going on there. There's voices heard voices in heaven and in hell. And we do kind of tease that out a bit in the film. There's some undertones where you hear kind of like demonic things happening. And we kind of brought that out. That's probably in a nutshell the psychology of it. In terms of abnormal psychology. In terms of normal psychology, you would have a caretaker taking care of someone old. We don't know their relationship, only that it's an old man. Some people say that it's a fatherly relationship. Some people say that the mad woman is a servant. There's really nothing specific. Poe likes to sort of give you the opportunity to invent those things in his head. He leaves a lot of things out, and he always leaves them out intentionally.
Absolutely. Yes.
And he'll say that in the philosophy of composition, things like that. He'll refer to his writing process, and he's very deliberate about what's in there and what isn't, down to the syllable. We have to make creative choices. So it's not like, once again, it's not a right or wrong. It's just we have to do something and roll with it. So we kind of went with this is a servant and taking care of an old man. There's no reference. It's not my father. It's just I love the old man. There's no familial language or anything like that. You really just don't know their relationship. It was not uncommon for servants. In fact, most servants were female in households, unless you were really rich and had a butler. That being said, on the flip side of that, it would also be unusual for a woman to be alone with a man in a house that was not a relative, so there's also the counterpoint to that. However, that's kind of what we went with, is that there's just this caretaker. We didn't elaborate too much on it. Our subtext to that, like we said before, was that this is just a servant who takes care of this man and to develop some affection for him. That would be the normal part. And then the murder and everything else due to the insanity, the obsession over the old man's eye. So she's obsessed with the old man's eye. She sees it sort of like a window to hell, so to speak, where she doesn't hate the old man. She loves the old man. And we tried to show that, we tried to show her taking care of him, but she hates the eye. She hates the hell that lives within him that's tormenting her.
Yeah, I kind of like always thought that it was like, if she could have removed the eye, would she have been okay with having the old man without the eyes? I mean, I know that sounds weird, but I mean, you kind of think, because that was the focus, that laser focus of the eye.
Yeah, I would so
I always think that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
So again, we're gonna make lots of assumptions here. So I want to I just want to say, you have to make these choices when you make a film or any adaptation. But there's so much left out. So there's always in the Dead Poet Society, I remember there's an explanation. There's two renderings of any story. There's your story and the author's story. So Poe gives you the opportunity to have your own story and everything he does, which kind of makes it cool. So
yeah.
I always kind of felt like the eye was it wouldn't matter if the eye was gone, there would have been something else. And kind of the delivery of it, the way did the delivery, it was like, it was the eye. Yes, it's almost like an after, like, yeah, that's it. It's the eye, you know. And there is an obsession over it.
Yeah.
But it's just odd. It seems really odd. I mean, I think it's supposed to be odd. I think it's supposed to not make sense because this person is not sane. You know, their logic, their reasoning is not normative.
Not if you kill someone over an eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you plan it out.
It's not.
All you think about it,
exactly.
and you open the lantern so that it lights up the eye.
Yes.
And, you know, for
One-
7 nights straight.
Oh, I know. And that I was gonna say, that's one other thing that I kind of like picked up on as well, because it was like she looked in on him every night at midnight and did it the same exact way with, opening the door and a little bit more and more. And so it kind of brings me to thinking of like obsessive compulsive disorder as well, even, kind of going into that, a little bit of that psychology.
Sure. And that's been done before. So we've seen renderings where it's been OCD, and it works. It does work. A lot of mental illnesses cross paths.
Absolutely.
And there was no like there was not a DSM-5 handbook to refer to, but he was familiar with mental illness. He saw it around in a lot of his stories. I mean, he covers, even though the words aren't said, you can kind of sort of hint that he's covered bipolar, he's covered depression, he's covered sociopathy. And of course, my take would be schizophrenia. But they're all there. So he was familiar with it, and I don't know if he had a specific disease in mind other than just madness. But what is kind of interesting about this particular story are some of the influences of it. So at that time, madness they're just seen as like rambling maniacs, that would never make any sense. But the narrator, she's very calm. She can articulate her thoughts very clearly, very lucid in terms of being able to describe what happened, the scenery, everything like that. And one of the big influences of The Telltale Heart was one of the very early cases of an insanity plea. It was the trial of James Wood in, I believe it was 1840. Don't quote me on that date, but it's somewhere around there. Poe was covering the story for a magazine, for Alexander's Weekly Messenger. And so he kind of describes in that what kind of happened. But James Wood was very calm. He murdered
Was his daughter?
his daughter, I think. He murdered someone, and he took the insanity plea, and ultimately I believe he was found insane. But it was never used as an excuse for murder, so and this was a time where, say, he wasn't in his right mind, but he was very calm when he spoke. He wasn't rambling and not making any sense. He was just able to articulate his thoughts really well. And you wonder, okay, so he covered this story, and then he's writing a story a couple of years later about someone pleading insanity. Or sanity, rather.
Yes.
Fighting against insanity, and fighting against sort of the idea that insanity and madness meant that you couldn't think, that you were just rambling, that you weren't there. But what was kind of different about this character was that she was with it, still insane, still mad, but you wouldn't know it just by a superficial conversation.
Absolutely. One other thing I kind of picked up on, and I think I've thought about this before when I've read it in the past, and it's just one little line where it's precisely upon the damned spot. And so that immediately made me think of Macbeth and Shakespeare. It's like, did he use that kind of as an allusion in his writing to kind of refer to that? And I'm like, it just ties so well to that, Lady Macbeth, and just, the insanity she went through as well. It just kind of made me think. And then that also kind of then made me think of your movie and just the narrator being a female. And so that just really kind of was a neat tie, I thought.
Yeah. I never Did you make the connection to Macbeth? Did you?
Yeah,
You're nodding your head.
I,
there,
well, I did because Poe would have made the connection. You know, like he knew Latin, he knew French, he
Right.
studied literature. He
Yeah.
would have had all of that stuff in mind. I mean, he was
Mhm.
heavily influenced by even Dickens at the time. So that's one of those images that would have been hanging pretty tough, and that you would have had to go. He would have went through Shakespeare, even the little bit of time that he spent at Virginia.
Yeah,
But
I
he
think
would
so
have he would
too.
have went over Shakespeare, and if he was a literary critic, he would have known.
Yeah.
He would have been very familiar with
Mhm.
Shakespeare.
I just thought, did he throw that in there? It just because you don't think of that phrase unless you think of Macbeth. It just,
Right. Right.
kind of neat.
Mhm.
But
Um,
at the same time, I'm going to jump in here real quickly because you keep talking about the insanity and the schizophrenia part of it, because there's always two sides of schizophrenia, and paranoid schizophrenia is where they go the extra step to either kill themselves or kill somebody else, the object of their obsession. And and insanity, it's definitely, the definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, which this is the whole thing of Telltale Heart. Even at midnight, every time she went in, she kept checking and checking and checking, and she kept doing the same thing for 7 days. And on the 8th day, she managed to make it stop the way she thought it was, and she thought it was going to make what it was better, but it didn't make it better. It just exasperated it to the point to where she turned herself in. And it goes back to me because he's tying this, in my opinion, in the Black Cat. Because in the Black Cat, with the husband who was showing the officers around and, even, regaling them with all the, cool stuff. And, oh, wait, my wife is in this wall, but that's okay. They're not going to figure that out because I'm smart enough and I'm an egomaniac and all that wonderful stuff.
Mhm.
At the same time, it's like, that was a touch point of sociopath. So, and like you said, with Edgar Allan Poe, he always loves to leave everything open to interpretation for the reader so they can decide who they want to get justice for, who is going to have justice in the story, or who is going to reap the rewards of finally, killing off whoever they want to. And that's
mhm.
what they always take on Edgar Allan Poe. So,
Right. Yeah. I wanted to sort of touch on one other thing I wanted to say about schizophrenic. So one of the reasons we didn't want to really make that part of the
mhm.
exterior of the story for viewers, and is because most schizophrenics are actually victims of crimes, right? Most of them do not commit crimes. They don't commit violent crimes. Most of them are the victims of that.
Mhm.
And so this kind of, if you take that approach, if we named it in the film, it just kind of propagates the stereotype. Even though in Poe's time he was going against the stereotype of just blabbering madness, it was like there was like lucidity in the speech, was kind of against that particular stereotype.
Mhm.
The stereotype of like crazy people just going around and a schizophrenic going around and just like grabbing a knife and murdering people is I'm sure it happens, but it's actually very rare statistically. So we didn't want to do that.
And that's understandable
Mhm.
because I have two family members that suffer from schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It doesn't manifest itself until you just see changes. And like you said, they are victims. Most of the time, they're victims of drug addiction
Yeah.
because they don't know what's causing it. And so they try to cure it however they want to. So, but the thing about it, and that's the one thing about your storytelling, is you're keeping upon the same aspect of Edgar Allan Poe. You're not defining what it is in your videos.
Mhm.
You are letting the audience interpret it the way they want by using what you've interpreted, which makes it phenomenal.
Yeah, and we tried our best not to fill in too many holes that we know we would assume
left
that Poe
intentionally.
left out intentionally. So
Yeah.
so its story begins in medias res, meaning in the middle of, and we wanted to keep that. We didn't put a backstory in it, like nothing like that. You see that a lot in a lot of adaptations. People try to fill in the gaps, and then it just becomes not Poe. And we wanted our films to be Poe's story put on the screen, rather than like just loosely base it off of it and just steal the concept, So we tried our best to sort of leave those gaps open as best we could, you know.
Yeah, and I think you did a really good job of that. Seeing it, I've watched it a couple times, and so because I've really enjoyed it. And so I was going to say that I think this is a great time to kind of lead into showing the film.
Sure.
And so if you guys want, I don't know if you want to add anything before Jeannie goes ahead and hits play, but just anything you want to add.
Has anybody in the group not seen it yet?
I've never seen it.
Yay!
Okay.
So I'm
great.
excited to see it. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see it at the festival, so yeah, I'm definitely excited.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
you're in for a treat. It's awesome.
I haven't
Yep,
seen it
and
either.
I haven't either.
All right.
Okay.
Good.
Great.
All right. Well, with that said, I guess we can. I guess it's going to speak for itself. So I don't know if it needs much of an introduction, other than that we made this film, and it took us a long time to get it made, so we're super happy that it got made.
And
So,
we make it because we love Poe, and we want people to understand Poe and
Yeah.
enjoy Poe, and so.
All
All
right.
right,
alrighty.
and here we go. Tell me if you can't hear it and I'll turn it up.
I can hear it. Might want to turn the closed captioning off.
Okay.
True. Nervous. Very, very dreadfully nervous. I had been and am. But how can you say that I am mad? Disease had only sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was my sense of hearing acute. I heard all things in the heavens and on earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken and observe. How calmly, how healthily. I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none. Passion there was none. Abide with me, vessels eventide. The darkness deepens, Lord, with me abide. When other helpers fail and comforts flee, help of the hopeless, oh, abide with me. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold, and so, by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now, this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing, but you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And this I did for 7 long nights, every night, just at midnight. But I found the eye always closed. And so it was impossible to do the work, for it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. Swift to its close ebbs out life's little day. Earth's joys grow dim, its glories pass away. Change and decay in all around I see. O thou who changest not, abide with me. In life, in death, O Lord, abide with me. I knew that he had been lying awake ever since the first slight noise when he had turned in the bed. His fears had been ever since growing upon him. He'd been trying to fancy them causeless, but could not. He'd been saying to himself,
"It's nothing but the wind in the chimney."
or,
It's only a mouse running across the floor."
yes, he has been trying to comfort himself with these suppositions, but he had found all in vain. May I help you?
Yes, madam. There have been reports of a disturbance here.
Screams heard coming from inside. We've been deputed to search the premise.
Certainly, gentlemen. Come right in. It was a dream, of course. A terrible nightmare befell me, and I woke up screaming. It felt so real. It kept me up most of the night. I could hear it chasing me, this growling sound. I saw a light around a corner and woke up. By the time I realized it was a dream, I'd been screaming for several minutes.
And the old man?
Absent. In the country. I'm afraid I'm not used to an empty house and quite unaccustomed to being alone.
Whereabouts did you say?
The country.
Yes. The country. How did you say he got there?
By train? Yes, he took the train. It's faster than a horse, of course.
Yes, that's true. It used to take 2 months to cross this great country of ours, but now you can do it in 18 days.
My father and I once made it to California and back in and out of a summer.
Impressive. Very impressive. Although, everything is just rush, rush, rush now. You know, I don't know about you, but when I'm in a hurry, I always seem to forget something. There's a saying, haste makes waste. I think that's how it goes.
You know, that reminds me of a case we had a few years back. A murder. The man was a lawyer. A good citizen. So it seemed. He had a wife, lots of pets, you know, like cats, dogs, even a monkey in that big house. Till one day he buried an axe in his wife's head. Came at her, hammer and tongs. Never gave her a reason. A real one, anyway. Tried to say the cat cast a spell on her. Swore he wasn't crazy. Makes you wonder. How long did he have that in his head? Had he been that way for years, just waiting for the right opportunity to strike? Or maybe his wits snapped altogether.
Terrible story. Like I said, we've bothered you enough, man. You have a
My
nice.
point is, he would have gotten away with it. But he was in such a hurry to get rid of the body that he left the cat.
Croninship. Our Croninship. I think that was his name. Are you familiar with the story?
I have so many duties around the house, I don't concern myself with horror stories.
Horror stories. You know, there are too many of those happening nowadays. How many murders were there last year?
Too many.
I agree. You know, this country is changing so much. A man killing his wife with an axe. You know, my grandfather always used to say, never trust.
You been listening?
Yes, sir, of course.
Because you seem distracted. Maybe you've had some other thought, and something else has come to mind. Nada. Are you all right? Are you mad?
Villains. This
Okay, I have one question.
Sure.
The, I guess, lullaby that she was singing to him.
Mhm.
What was that? I didn't recognize.
That's Abide With Me. It's a Christian hymn written in that era, and it's a dirge. So it was sung at funerals.
That's what I thought, but I
Interesting.
never could connect it because I was like, I
Yeah.
know it's from that time period, but I
Yeah.
couldn't think what it was. But that
So
was
it's literally it's sort of like a hint that she's singing about his funeral, right? So yeah.
yeah.
It was very appropriate. Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it added to that extra level of horror because she was like giving him his send off before he was even dead. So yeah, that was good.
Mhm.
Yeah, and also comforting him because it was a genuine care for his needs. But and the lyrics of that song they're all about it's comforting someone in the face of death. So it kind of really
Resonated, yeah.
really
Mhm.
fit with the story, I think, for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, I love the visual and especially the auditory imagery throughout the film. It's just all the sounds were just creepy and like eerily just amazing. I mean, it just
Yeah.
really made the tone of the movie, flow with Poe. Sorry, I had to rhyme there.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was one thing I always like to say is you don't make a movie alone. So
Mhm.
we didn't just grab our iPhones and make this by ourselves. So so when you mentioned like the sound, that was Ryan Stewart. He did the
Okay.
sound design, but he also wrote the music for it too. So
Oh, awesome.
so a lot of that came from his hard work, which it's really difficult to do those two jobs on the same project. So we're really grateful that he was able to pull that off, as good as he did, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was really, really good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
you.
Anybody else want to jump in and thoughts, any questions, anything?
I really love that you made the dialogue between the two officers about murders from Poe. That was like awesome. It was really
Yeah,
clever
thank you.
because in the actual story, she's like they're talking, they won't leave her alone. But like again, you don't really know what they're talking about. That was like such a nice touch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was excited before you said the cat thing. I was like, oh, I know what this is. Like that was
Yeah. It's the black cat, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Yes. Yeah, that was
That was-
awesome.
Yeah.
that was clever, and all the actors were really, really great. I mean, that's why I whispered to my husband, like, she's creepy, like, real creepy.
Yeah. And it's just funny because that's Rosie Dogood is the lead, and she is the exact opposite of that. She is nothing like that.
Oh, wow.
So she was the whole cast was just a pleasure to work with. The whole crew was a pleasure to work with. Everyone was, and they were long hours. We definitely
3 very long shoot
they were
days.
really long days. Yeah. So we got through it, but everybody really brought their A game, and it could not have been done without them at all. It was everybody kind of understood Poe, and just and it's really helpful to work with good actors because like you made that comment about the dialogue, but that's really good actors make good dialogue.
Oh yeah, the young guy with the mustache, he was like, yeah,
Oh,
he was
David.
really-
David, he was in our film The Raven, and
I
he
was
was
about
also,
to ask that. I thought
Yeah.
I
And in the
recognized
cast.
him.
and he played Montresor in the Cask of Amontillado.
Okay.
Oh, okay, I'll have to check
Yeah.
this out.
And
Yeah.
he was actually and if you've ever seen Evil Dead the musical, he was
Oh, nice.
Bruce Campbell's
Yeah, okay, I
character.
need to.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool.
So it's but yeah, they were fantastic. And
David kind of like he brings this thing on set, all the girls paint, like he comes on set and your eyes just follow him, and he's like very intense. Like
He
if you ask him
is.
something simple like how's your son, he'll be talking about him, and you're like, he's
He
just a
has
very
swagger.
intense
It
person.
just it translates. The swagger definitely translates.
Yeah,
Well,
and his acting chops are just
the
huge.
thing is, it's what's
Yeah.
difficult in particular with David is that he's such a good actor. It's hard for me. It took me a while to have a conversation with him not think of it, not be intimidated by him because of his characters that he plays. He's actually a very nice guy. He's very down to earth. But like, just like, there's like this weird, like you feel like he's gonna like just attack you, like, but he's not. He's just, because he's just such a good actor, and they all brought things to the table. So they made suggestions, different angles. How about this, or how about he does this and it's really helpful to have people like that, because as a director, that's what makes you look good, or everybody pitching in and kind of helping and adding a little bit, and it all adds up. When an actor says, hey, how about he stands over here, or the director of photography says, hey, how about we shoot it up here instead of down here, it just all contributes to it. So it was really fun to make. It was hard work, but it was fun.
And they were all really good. Like our daughters were on set. Our son was too young, but our daughters were on set, and our oldest.
Well, he was there for a couple hours.
But I mean, like, all the actors were, all the crew were good with our kids, because like Vivian, our oldest, was learning a little bit like on set. Like we all had to learn set protocol except for Thad. So,
Yeah.
but like everybody was really good. Everybody just worked together. It was like a real team like mentality.
It
And
is.
everybody just was nice to each other too. It was
It's really nice. Yeah, they're not all like that, but ours was. And when you're on a shoot like that, it's nice, because you just get this sort of fondness for everyone, and then it goes away, and then it's gone. But
Yeah.
it was fun.
Yeah, Matt props high quality, even like the hand, like it was.
Oh
like,
yeah.
That was great. I was like,
thank you.
I was like, damn. I was like, that was like, your hands are coming off. That was really cool.
Yeah, some of those hands of the mad woman was my daughter.
Oh, wow.
So what you do is, like, you'll have principal photography. So there's like days to build the set, there's days to shoot, days to tear it down, and then you have pickups. So little detailed things that you miss. So just stuff with hands, like the dusting, all that. We shot all that later on. We had two different pickup days. So one day was with Jeff, the director of photography, very, very, very generous that he did that pickup, and he just we went out to his shop and he lit everything, and all I had to do was buy him lunch. He's just super. He's an incredibly gifted cinematographer. Just I would say he's one of the best in town, if not the best. Because I've edited his stuff on commercials, and I've known him for 20 years, and it just is, he's outstanding work ethic. He brings so much to the table. But Vivian's, that's our daughter, her hands were in a lot of those shots. And then the dusting one, I shot that dusting shot later on, and then there was the club where you see the close up of the hand pick up the club. That was actually
corner of our living room.
That was in the corner of our living room. I shot I shot that on a different day too. And we just lit it to match. And that was actually just myself, Joe, the producer, myself, Frank, and then Season was there. And then we just had Frank it was his hand, not David's. And we just shot it, and it's just so quick, and you're in, you're out. You make sure that the colors loosely match and it kind of fit. So
that's really neat. And I was going to ask about the ending, because with the one of the officers clubbing her and everything, was a little bit different take on the ending of the story. And so I liked the ending, the way you ended it.
Yeah, we wanted it to end the same way it began. So like when you start on that eye and you pull out, it's kind of like, well, how did she get there?
Yeah.
So this is the story of how she got down on the ground there. She got thumped in the head. I mean, that's what police officers would have done. There would be no kinder, gentler thing. They just would thump you in the head. So that was kind of the thinking, that to have that ending be the same as the beginning, since this was kind of like it's in the middle of a story. We wanted to kind of keep that.
Yeah, I love that. It really fit the whole. I loved it.
Oh, awesome.
Nod to Hitchcock.
Yes.
So we should mention, I stole that shot from Psycho and Hitchcock. So in the shower scene, he pushes in on the eye. And I just did the same thing.
Oh,
So,
I
like,
love it. I love it.
yeah,
'Cause,
right,
yeah,
yeah.
Hitchcock
You
is
creatively
amazing.
borrowed it. You creatively
Yes.
borrowed it.
Well,
Yes.
so David Ogilvy, who some might consider the father of modern advertising. So he says that good artists borrow, great artists steal. So, and there's nothing new under the sun, really. Everything has been done.
Mhm.
Same with like music. There's just only so many chords, at least in Western music. And so you just rearrange it differently. That's all. You just, as long as you don't like, there's a difference between plagiarism and theft.
As all good English teachers know.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, y'all know I teach English, and Jeannie used to
Yeah.
teach English. And so we always talk about, we stole this idea from this teacher and made it our own. And yeah, you're right. You don't,
Yeah.
you just kind of, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just, keep tweaking and making it for you. So.
And there's really nothing that isn't influenced by something else. Even Psycho, if you watch
Well, there's a
Psycho,
book. Psycho's a book.
Psycho has the story beats of the Telltale Heart.
Yes.
It's the same story beats. There's a lead up to a murder, there's insanity, there's a murder that's in the middle of the story, the middle of the narrative, and then it ends with a police investigation.
Absolutely.
And essentially that insanity being revealed, and it's similar. And like I didn't notice that until my middle daughter wanted to watch Psycho one day. She's like, hey, do you want to watch Psycho with me? And I was like, I want to watch Psycho with you, so then I remember we watched it, and I was like, wow, this is the Telltale Heart, because it was like when we were developing the script a little bit more and everything, and it just is like, it's the same story beats, and Hitchcock had a admiration for Poe. So he had, I think he had said I never would have made suspense films had it not been for Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes, I'm actually in the middle of, I haven't gotten started too much into it just because of so much going on, but I've started a biography on Hitchcock, and already, like in the first chapter, that was one of the first things that was mentioned.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Hitchcock fan, and eventually, like probably season 3, Jeannie and I are going to do an episode on Hitchcock with, because everything's about Poe's influence on, everything. And so that'll probably be one of our horror episodes, but because our next one is going to be more leaned toward Vincent Price. So,
nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, and if you've ever read The Shining, my gosh, Stephen King references The Mask of the Red Death like a million times in that book. It's a slow book. It was his second or third novel.
Yeah.
But I've always felt like that novel was slow till about the 2/3 in. However, like, wow, there's so many references to Poe, and not just in that book, but I feel like the majority of them are in that one. Then he kind of loosens up later on. But when I talk about influence, my gosh.
Oh yeah.
So much Poe influence on Stephen King.
Yeah, and that was kind of like our thinking is kind of like there's Poe influences everywhere, everyone,
which is the point of your podcast.
Yeah,
it is.
And we wanted to make those stories into films. Like there's very few that I've seen adapted really, really well. So there's a guy, Raul Garcia, who's you should he would be good. He would be really good to have on your podcast. So he made.
Okay. I'll write that down.
What was it?
Extraordinary
Tales. It's on Amazon. We can send you the link to the film.
Oh, that would be great. And someone.
It's a bunch of shorts.
It's a bunch of animated shorts. It took him about 10 years to make them.
Okay.
But it's probably the best rendition of The Mask of the Red Death I've ever seen.
Oh wow!
And the Tales of N. Voldemort, he does that exceptionally.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one.
He does Telltale Heart as well. It's not as good as ours. I'm just going to say that. But he's a really cool guy. We've met him, and he's awesome.
Okay.
Super cool. You should definitely hook up with him for sure.
Absolutely. And I was going to tell you that another person reached out through you guys, Jason Markowitz.
Okay.
Okay.
And I talked to him, and I think he's going to be doing some stuff for us in January. So yeah.
Cool.
And then Holly, who is on here right now, is going to be our featured guest on Poe Unplugged in December, because we're going to kind of focus on the bells and her children's book.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
Bells. And so
Is that Krampus? Looks like.
The devil.
yeah, and she does the art as well as write the book. So
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Were,
Very cool.
were you at Poe Fest?
I was, yeah.
I could swear my daughter bought a book from you for her brother for Christmas.
Maybe she did, because I know I got the coloring book from your guys' station, from your one daughter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I remember, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess, yeah, somebody was buying a book for her brother.
Was she blonde? That was Vivian, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's very
It's your
excited. She's
blonde.
giving that to him for Christmas. so.
Okay.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great.
Very cool.
Yeah, which we've turned all of our kids on to put. They've all read the stories, and
Our son read The Black Cat.
son read the
He's
Black
10.
Cat. He's
Nice.
he liked it, so that was
Okay. And that's a
No,
dark one too. Yeah.
They all love The Black Cat because that's the one we want to make next.
yeah.
So
Oh,
they all know we have a script for it, and
Yeah.
they all say it's like, nobody's done it. Nobody's really done it yet, and we really need to
never
make it.
seen
And I'm
it.
like, well, nobody teaches it, but
yeah. And
But,
I hate that no one teaches that one, because I think about it, because in Tennessee, Telltale Heart is usually taught in 8th grade.
Mhm.
And when you really think about the horror aspect of it versus the Black Cat, they're no different in levels to me. It's like one's not worse than the other, except I know the sensitivity with animal cruelty and those
Yeah.
kinds of things come up, but
Yeah.
a good teacher can craft around that to
Sure.
where, and work through
Yeah.
that.
There's spousal
But-
abuse too. There's that.
And,
and
right,
Alcoholism.
and the alcoholism, and I think that might be why. But yeah, I wish.
But those are not things that the thing is, kids, it's not that kids don't deal with that.
Right.
Like there's so
right.
many kids that face homelessness and see their parents fighting and have experienced like
Yeah.
domestic violence in the home. And it's not like kids aren't exposed to it. And so, I mean, they're on TikTok.
Well,
every
that
day
too. And if you
so-
watch like the Avengers, there's more violence. Like the Avengers is
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
violent. Like any of they're really violent.
Yeah.
It's just more acceptable in the modern climate. So,
Yeah, I
Well-
think so.
yeah.
And I hate to say it because of this whole book banning issue that's been going on here, especially in Tennessee. We've had several districts that are like going after the school boards to ban so many different books.
Yeah.
One of the things that I can think of on the Black Cat that they would have a problem with would be where he hangs the cat.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
With the noose and
I mean,
all
it's
that.
very dark.
especially-
Very
yeah,
dark.
especially
It is.
in this
Yeah.
type of societal stuff that we've got going on,
Mm-hmm.
that especially the parents in Tennessee would
Yeah.
have options.
Yeah, that would be like senior in high school. I think,
I
don't,
agree.
I don't think you should teach it to third graders.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
Not even middle school.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, not
It-
even
it-
middle school.
It would fit. It really would fit like junior English, because it's all American lit. That would be a really, because juniors I think can handle that. I
For
really
sure.
do.
It's just in terms of the irony in the story, though, the ending. It's one of my favorite literary endings. Yeah,
Grows in junior high, and the dog gets like basically disemboweled, and I mean, I hated teaching that. That was like a rough story to teach, but we taught it in 7th grade here.
yeah. I mean, well,
Wow.
Hamlet has like incest and murder.
I couldn't honestly. I was like,
Yeah.
I had never read the book until I had to read it to teach it to
Yeah.
7th graders, and I was like, oh, so the dog basically its guts are hanging out at the end, and the whole entire ending is so sad and horrible. And the whole time he's trapping raccoons and killing them and skinning them, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know we
And
teach
then
this
add in
in
Ringer.
7th grade.
I mean, I had to teach a ringer.
Yeah,
The dude is killing birds by wringing their neck, and it's
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I mean, he's a kid, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
okay.
yeah.
And then of course we have Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
That was a great. That was a
Just
great
got
book.
finished
Yeah.
teaching
Yeah,
that
I
one.
just actually taught that last 9 weeks, and
Yeah.
the kids loved it. Absolutely loved it. We did a project with it, and a Socratic seminar, and they loved being able to argue out, whose character could survive the best and things like that.
Yeah. No, that was a fantastic story. Lord
Yeah.
of the Flies, yeah.
Well, I know we're running over time a little bit.
Yes, I think we
Okay.
are a little bit.
We're going to try to wrap this up. And if you guys have any other questions for Thad and Season, we once again
Yeah.
thank you for joining us. We enjoyed your your take on Telltale Heart, and
Yes, very much.
Yes,
definitely
great,
going to
great,
check out the
great
Raven.
film.
Yeah, and like you were
Yes.
saying about the school thing, I definitely see that being great. I'm from New Jersey, so we're a little bit more liberal here on the East Coast, but
Okay.
definitely great for schools. Like we had
Awesome,
watched the
yeah.
black and white version when I was, I think, 7th or 8th grade, and that I think that's going to be a good replacement.
Oh,
Yeah, well,
awesome.
that's what we're hoping for, honestly,
Yeah.
is so that teachers, honestly, like I used to teach, and that's my perspective on this
Yeah.
project, is providing really top-notch stuff for teachers. Because
Mhm.
like I just remember trying to teach, especially when I would teach the American Gothic, I would do the unit on the American Gothic, and I'd be like,
Mhm.
wow, I have if we're talking about Poe, I have these Vincent Price films are fun, but the kids hated them.
Yeah.
And they weren't
Yeah.
good adaptations of Poe. So that was
Yeah.
part of our conversation, is like, from my perspective, teachers need top-notch, good quality stuff. We were all poor. We don't get paid very much.
Yeah.
So we provide it for free on YouTube, and you can just stream it every year and teach
Absolutely.
the unit and have a good film that the kids aren't going to fall asleep watching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did the Telltale, the Raven, we did the Cask from Amontillado as well. They're all on YouTube and they're all free. And we do have lesson plans that are on our website that are free. We haven't made them for Telltale yet
I'm working on it.
because we're slackers, but we'll get to it eventually. So,
But Telltale
You
did-
don't have anything to do on,
yeah.
But Telltale did play on the Virginia PBS all over, and
Virginia
like
Public Media.
in DC, and they did
Nice.
really well. We got they
Awesome.
told us that it actually, their numbers came back, and it did
Yeah,
really well.
Did very
It's really
well, yeah.
watched.
So it played on Halloween, so that's probably why.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
We had it packaged as Tales of Madness, so it was
the Raven
films were
and-
packaged together, yeah.
Oh, that is so
Perfect.
cool.
But yeah, they were really helpful for us. So it played in I think 3 different stations there. So it was
Okay.
Richmond, Charlottesville, and Harrisonville, or not Harrisburg, because that's here, but it was Harrison something.
Yeah, my cousin lives in Harrison something.
Yeah, I think it might is
There's a Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Yeah, there's a
maybe
Harrisonburg.
that's
Yeah.
a Harrisonburg. Okay, because we
Yeah.
have Harrisburg. Harrisburg's capital of Pennsylvania, so I could just get them mixed up. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, if you know any teacher friends, direct them our way, because
Oh,
that's
yes.
like really, like, from my end of the project, that's my passion is education. So
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
keep up the great work. We love
Yes.
it.
Thank you so much.
We will
Appreciate it.
definitely pass it along on our journals and to our teacher friends, definitely.
Mhm.
Once again, we love that you joined us this week, and we hope you come back and join us again next week. Crystal, hey, we love having you, and I know you probably got roped into it by Holly up there, but, hey, that's what sisters are for, right? And like Carmen said, next month we are going to have a special rendition with Holly and the Bells, and for
Yes.
this Christmas, and we hope you guys can join us again.
All
Yeah,
right,
and
thank you.
And the bells will be Poe Unplugged 12 December 27th, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, just like we always do. So we usually do them on a Tuesday, the Poe Unplugged live sessions. So
Okay.
yeah, but thank you guys so much. Thanks everyone for joining, and we appreciate y'all very much.
All right.
Thank
thank
you.
Have a
All right,
great
thank you.
holiday. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too,
happy
guys.
holidays. Good
All right.
Christmas.
Happy
All right,
holidays.
see ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.